Stephen, what, in your opinion, can sales leaders do to encourage their salespeople to embrace getting back out and having the face-to-face conversations? Any thoughts?
Well, I have to say your question is a very kind question, and you're a very kind person. I mean, encourage could have different connotations. I'll come in from a more emotionally mature perspective. I know it's hard, but I'll work to get there. Some of it's setting expectations. If everyone's fine doing business a certain way, I don't blame the rep for not saying, hey, I'm going to continue doing business this way. Everybody else is. I think it's incumbent upon leadership, if that's what they want, if that's what the customers want, to say, hey, guys and gals, we've survived COVID. If God forbid it rears its ugly head again, we know how we can run our business. Now's the time to be out there. In Canada, we have long winters. I love to get out of the house and meet with clients. I have one client who says, can you do this virtually? So the reluctance, I think we've become socialized into this, and I'm trying to dig deep here. But to me, encouraging is nice. And I think encouraging is when someone goes out and sees a client, that's great. You want to reward that, acknowledge that. But to me, it's almost setting the expectations that you are salespeople. Your employment contract says that you should be out there 50% of the time. I think back to days just to myself, and I'm very passionate about this one. I used to go visit some clients in Montreal, client that there's a variety of decision makers there. So what I do is one, I try to book as many appointments as I can on one day or on 2 days and see as many of the folks in that organization as I can. In between scheduled calls, I'd go down to the cafeteria, grab a coffee, grab lunch if they didn't throw me out, because I'd say I have a meeting coming up, but I'd run into people. On Zoom, you don't run into people, right? The people I couldn't see, and for whatever reason were busy, would sit down and have a coffee with me. If you're dealing with accounts that have multiple buyers, multiple people who are involved in your decision, multiple deals going on, being there is great. There's some real advantages to doing that.
You're reminding me of a funny story, at least I think it is. So I was interviewing a friend of mine, and she's very good at major account selling. And I'm good at systemizing materials. And like I said, she's working with the American Airlines of the world, GE. So these are big companies. And I said, tell me about your decision-making process. What are the steps and stages? She looked at me and she goes, well, I don't know if I've really got a process. I get into the company and then I just walk up and down the hall. She was like, okay, come on, give me the real thing. But she's a high relationship person, a very good critical thinker. But it's just what you said. You don't run into people unless it's somebody walking behind the Zoom that probably shouldn't be here. Yesterday, I had a client reach out to me a couple weeks ago. We'd not worked together for a few years, but they've now got some new sellers on board. They want to learn more about EQ. It would have been very easy to set up just a Zoom call. You know what? Made the drive there. Guess what happens? We reconnected. Then he walks me around the office, introduces me to people. There's a lot of rapport building that goes on there.
There's the tremendous benefits, and I don't want to use the term again, but I will, to get off your butt. Zoom is great if you've conquered doing Zoom meetings and presenting on Zoom. Great. That's one more tool in your toolbox. But as you said, we're in the people business. Any other benefits that you can think of to being in the customer's location, maybe even breaking bread with the customer?
Oh, absolutely. I think what we want to forget, we read it, but then we don't want to believe it. Human beings are wired to connect. And in fact, I wish I had cut this picture out a few years ago in the paper. And it was where all the world leaders were together. I can't remember which summit it was, but I remember distinctly, Stephen, sitting there looking at that picture thinking, huh, imagine the money, the time that they're taking out of busy schedules. They could have done this on a video call, but they got together. Human beings are wired to connect. Now, the biology behind this is literally when you connect, it's easier to be empathetic listening, which builds trust and rapport. So you actually start releasing what you call bonding hormones, oxytocin. There's actually a chemical reaction that is happening easier when you're face to face. We all talk about trust is the foundation of relationships. Well, guess what? That's biology 101. And if we're in the same room together, I can also read the room better.